Welcome to another episode of BIMteriors, and I'm Zach. This week we'll be going over the view range, specifically the primary view range. So if you are confused with why elements aren't showing up the way you want in your views or aren't showing up at all, a lot of that can be brought back to the view ranges itself, and they might be hidden or not showing up properly. So think about it as this horizontal plane that is either looking up or looking down, depending on your view, and showing and controlling the visibility of what you're seeing. And so in today's episode, we'll go over all of the tools available to you to get a better understanding of how to modify this. So in this way here, you're bringing your views to the way that you want to see them. Okay, so Autodesk has made to seem that these view ranges are very complicated and scary, and they're actually quite simple. And for the most of us, we only have to change one or two values within the view range to get exactly what we want to do to make sure that we're fixing those views to the views that you need on your plans. So first, we're going to want to go to a plan view to access the view range. So when you're in your level 1 in this example, or whatever view that you're selecting, you want to make sure that you go to your properties, and under properties, you'll find in extents. This is where the view range lives. And to bring up this dialog box to edit these values, you can hit on the edit tab. Now what this is going to do is bring up your view range dialog box. The view range is separated into three. You've got your primary range, which you have your top plane, your cut plane, and also your bottom plane. And for the most part, the two numbers that you're going to really want, especially on plan views, the cut plane and your bottom are going to be the ones that you're going to play between and potentially modify these values to get exactly the cuts and the views that you want to see. There's also additional options with view depths as well. So I'm going to just bring this over here to our plan view. And what I have done as well is I brought up an elevation view to kind of further go over this and further explain what this looks like. So visually, we're all visual. From architects to designers, we're such visual learners that I want to kind of go through this, that our top is the associated level, and there's an offset. So this can be changed to potentially the level above. So from level 1, our top would be level 2. And again, when we're talking about plan views, not as important as our cut plane and as our bottom. Now, this will change when we talk about reflected ceiling plans momentarily, but for right now, you can leave this as is. Our cut plane. And so this is where, if you see on the elevation, I've got this pink hidden line across our view at a certain height. And what that's representing is we're cutting on our associated level, which is level 1, and we're creating an offset of 1200, which I've shown and dimensioned. So this way here you can visually see where that's where we're cutting on our plan and looking down. Our bottom in this case, because it is a sunken living room from this project, we want to actually modify this to not the associated level, but the level below. And for example, if I were to move this back over, you can see that in this case, we're seeing some of the elements that are on that L1 living room. But if I were to change this and go to just the associated level, and we're going to change our view depth of what we're seeing to also the associated level and hit apply, you can see here a bunch of things have disappeared. So we're really only cutting 1200 above our level 1 and looking down to only level 1. So if you find that you're having these instances in your project and you're not seeing elements, this is where you can actually control your view range to make sure that you are capturing and you are seeing those elements that you want to be seeing in your views. So I'm going to bring that back to L1 living room, and our view depth to the same, and bringing back those elements. It could also be that potentially something is above your cut plane as well. So, and that won't be showing. So keep in mind is anything cutting at that 1200, so at that pink line and below, you're going to see either one or two things. If that pink line is cutting through that element, you're going to get a nice, thick, dark line. And if it's below, it'll be captured and represented by kind of a beyond you're seeing it beyond with a nice thin line. So before we get to what happens if it goes above or below your cut plane, I want to show you if a wall is going through it and if it's getting cut by that cut plane or if it's kind of within the view range and what the differences are, and graphically you're going to see on the plan. So I'm going to just create a wall, nice and easy, and create it like this. So you can see here our wall has come into our elevation. Now it's not being cut through, so it's not, the pink line is not going through it. And you can see here, if I zoom into it, I'm not necessarily seeing the guts of the wall or a really thick line. I've got a nice thin line, but the second, if I go to my elevation and bring this through, you can see now I'm getting a thicker line around the boundaries of my wall, and I'm starting to see the construction and the components of that wall and the layers of that wall. Now, what happens if elements on our view that we want to be seeing are above our cut plane? And so in this case here, I'm going to grab our TV for this example and bring it above. Now, we just saw that in our plan, it just disappeared. So I'm just going to undo. So you can see our TV is here, but the second that I start to move this and bring it above our cut plane, well, it's not showing. So sometimes there's one of two things that are happening is that you now have to review, okay, is the family that I created actually in the right spot? Or do I have to take a look at modifying my cut plane because I need this to be captured and it is in the right spot? So for example, if this was in the right spot and we needed to capture it, what we could do is always just change our cut plane. So we can find out that wherever that may be in our range. So I'm going to go back to our plan view. We're going to go back to our properties and go back to our view range. And I might just want to change our cut plane to, maybe this is 1500. And when I hit apply, you can see that now our TV is actually showing because our cut plane has extended upwards, now capturing some of the elements that we want to be seeing on our plan views. Okay, so now that we've got the plans out of the way, there's still one more. We've got to talk about our reflected ceiling plans, and this works very similar to our plans. However, when we're cutting on our plans, we're looking down. On our reflected ceiling plan, we're cutting at a certain height, at a certain value, and now we're looking up. So I'm going to pan over to our project, and I'm going to create a new reflected ceiling plan. So I'm going to make sure that I go to the view tab on our ribbon, and I'm going to drop down our plan views and select reflected ceiling plan. And for this example, I'm going to hit level 1 living room because this is going to be an example that a lot of architects and designers struggle with when they create a view, something weird is happening. They can't describe it. The actual view range itself seems to be set up fine, and why are my views looking the way they are? And they're not representing and they're not showing what I should be seeing. And I'm going to walk you through how easily you can actually adjust this and modify this so that you're seeing the elements that you're designing or seeing walls that you should even be seeing. So I'm going to hit level 1 living room, hit OK. And in this case here, you can see, as I was just talking about, if I came back to my plan, you should be seeing these walls, you should be seeing these doors, you should be seeing maybe any light fixtures or ceilings that you've been creating. However, I'm not seeing any of that, or I'm seeing portions of it, but it's not accurately representing what is there. And so what we want to do is under properties, again, making sure that we're finding our view range under the extents portion. And I'm going to have my elevation to the right pulled up so that we can see what is going on. So in this case here, the top, we've got level 1. That is our big red flag right here, is that sometimes in our drawings, if we're designers, we're linking in the architects, we're copy monitoring these levels, and we've got a bunch of levels that are not necessarily in our scope. So this could be a prime example of we're wanting to create a level 1 living room RCP view, but the level above should be level 2. But in this case here, it's showing level 1, causing all of these issues that we're seeing on the left-hand side on our plan view. So if we change this and modify this and look for level 2, that's now our new top. We want to make sure that our view depth, so we're actually seeing also past the level 1 to level 2. And if I hit apply, you can see that now you're visibly seeing what you should be seeing. So if I select on this element, I'm actually seeing our ceilings. I'm actually seeing our light fixtures. So again, nothing scary, nothing complex, but sometimes it's just by creating a building section, by creating an elevation, gives you a bit more understanding of why certain elements in your plans are not showing up. That's a wrap on this week's edition of BIMteriors and going over view ranges. Hopefully that you gained access and learned something and able to take something away from today's session. And this way here, hopefully bringing you more clarity on why things weren't working the way you were, or giving you the tools to be able to make sure that they are showing up the way you want them to show up. If you're hearing this message, it means that you've listened to this new content all the way to the end. And for that, I thank you. Please like and subscribe now to gain access to new Revit content weekly.